I'm David Brenneman, by the way. I'm Director of Collections and Exhibitions, and also Francis B. Bunzel Family Curator of European Art at the High. And I'm also Managing Curator of Louvre-Atlanta on the Atlanta side. And it's my great pleasure to introduce my colleague, my good colleague, Isabelle Lemaistre. She is a senior curator. I guess the French term is conservateur en chef. She's a senior curator at the Musée du Louvre. She's an expert in 19th century sculpture, and she's a terrific colleague. So welcome, Isabelle.
Thank you.
So we thought today, instead of giving a lecture, that we would do something more like seeing your family's vacation pictures, you know, at the holiday kind of a thing. And Isabelle and I have worked on this project for, I think, for 5 years. Isabelle was part of the original team that conceived the project. And originally, Isabelle was one of a number of curators. And then when the sort of coordinating curator on the Louvre side, Olivier Mellet, was promoted and assigned to another project, the director of the Louvre, Henri Loirette, came to me and Michael Shapiro and said, well, of all the curators that you've met and of all the curators that you'd like to work with and would like to be the new coordinating curator, who would it be? And we unanimously selected Isabelle.
Thank you. For me, it was really wonderful.
Well, Isabelle, in fact, you want to just tell the story about how you learned that you would be the new managing curator?
You know, we have a director who is very go forward. And I was replacing my chief at the big curator every week meeting with our director Henri Loirette, and he just told me, you just stay 5 minutes after the meeting. I have something to tell to you, and he just told me. You approved to be the manager, curator for the Louvre-Atlanta partnership? Yes, no, yes, yes, yes. And before being back to my office, when I opened my computer, there was an email from Henri Loirette saying to all the people of the Louvre that I was the new...
So I guess he wanted you to take the job. So we're so glad that you did, Isabelle.
Yes.
So let's.
Me too. Yeah, I was so happy to work here.
Well, look, let's get started. And
yes.
I don't know, Kevin, if we're going to bring down the lights. And
yes, you have the.
And I have the baton. Well, so we're going to actually kind of turn ourselves. So please, we're not. Trying to be rude. We want to see the slides too, or we need to see the slides too. And then later we'd like to have a Q&A period. So if you have questions, you know, please feel free to ask us. So this is the pyramid and the main entrance to the Louvre. And I was just confessing to our chairman of our board that I'm feeling a little bit of withdrawal in terms of traveling to Paris, and we have to find some other projects, Isabelle.
Yes.
So this is the main entrance on a not so crowded day, and then this is me and our director Michael Shapiro, and we've just gotten off the plane and have scrubbed up and are going into some meetings at the Louvre. And this is Michael Shapiro joking around with Henri Loirette. I don't know if you can see, but Henri's pretending that he's making Michael sign the agreement. So Isabelle, in terms of Henri, and I don't want you to speak out of school too much, but what are some thoughts about Henri and his directorship at the Louvre? And I don't want to put you in a tough spot, but what are your? No. I mean, you know, does he have a tough job, easy job?
Oh yes, he had a tough job, especially in the beginning, because when he arrived, he was not so old. He was quite young. He was coming from the Musée d'Orsay, where he was the director too, and the Louvre used to work with at this moment it was 7 departments, which were like 7 separate governments, 7 separate principautés, I should say, or
Principalities.
Under a king, but the king was not so powerful.
Yeah.
And some of the directors of these principalities, these departments, had been working at the Louvre since nearly 35 years. So when they saw this director arriving with his new idea, he wanted to change a lot of things. That's normal for a new director. And most of them were very angry. And some of them began to prepare some plots even. So I think it was very difficult for him at the beginning to explain his new ideas and to have some of the chief of the departments didn't agree at all. Mm-hmm. Some of them went retiring. That was good for Henri. Mm-hmm. and some others went away. Which was good as well, because you can't organize things if some people always say no, it doesn't work, it can't work, it will not work like that. So I think that he had a tough job in the beginning to share his ideas on the new way of developing the Louvre, especially developing the Louvre abroad.
Yeah. Isabelle, I'm going to share this next slide, which this is the room where we had our first meeting, and I think there were about 5 of us that were there, and there were about 20 from the Louvre, and we were seated on one side, and the Louvre was on the other side. And Isabelle, I think, was part of those very early meetings when we sat down to, I think, come up with the basic framework of the exhibition project, and then we also started to come up with some of the ideas that that later turned into exhibitions. So, Isabelle, any thoughts about sitting at that table and looking at us and thinking, what am I going to do?
And the table is so large that you sometimes you don't hear the one who is speaking in front of you.
But we had some good ideas.
Yes, a lot of ideas on masterpieces.
And masterpieces. So we can't quite remember when the idea for this year, the Louvre and the Masterpiece, came about. We think it probably didn't come about here in Paris, but that it might have actually happened in the director's private dining room at the High Museum.
Yes.
Is that your recollection?
Maybe, yes.
Because we were trying to think of a way in the third year to have an exhibition that really addressed some of the issues that the Louvre is facing today and moving forward into the future. Yes,
because the first year was on how the collections had been made for the Louvre, the royal collection for the first year, the 19th century way of collecting for the second year, and the third year had to be something, the Louvre of today and tomorrow. So it was very conceptual, and we had to find a way of explaining it by works of art, because...
So Isabelle, when we came up with this idea of masterpiece, and I remember we had one of our first meetings with the curators, and one of the curators mentioned, although I think it was a she, was telling a tale out of school a little bit, maybe shouldn't have been telling the story, but maybe we can tell it here too, which is that the curators at the Louvre had a grand idea in terms of what to do with the Mona Lisa and the Venus de Milo. Can you recall for our group here what that idea was?
One of the ideas when we organized the Louvre, what was called the Grand Louvre in 1992, was that the really 3 stars objects the Victory of Samothrace, the Venus de Milo, the Mona Lisa, and maybe the Slaves of Michelangelo, were the just works that most of the people wanted to see. And the first ideas when we always displayed those in the Louvre was to leave them in context. So they are displayed in many different places of the Louvre. Some of them are very far from one to another. And some of us had the idea that maybe it could be interesting to have all the 3 stars best pieces in the same room. And you would be obliged to pay for maybe $50, I don't know, to have the opportunity to see them. And all of the other galleries would be free for everyone. And we thought of, at this moment, it was in the 90s, we thought, oh, well, the Japanese can pay $50 just to see that. So we shall have nice rooms with not too many people just nearby for our pupils, for ourselves, for our friends. Yeah. And just have this small room with the
masterpieces.
Biggest masterpieces.
Yeah. But one of the reasons that I heard that was such an appealing idea was that, you know, when visitors go to the Louvre and when they walk through the galleries, they have sort of blinders on and walk past all of these amazing works of art just to go see those 3 pieces.
Yes.
And the Louvre curators felt that people were really missing the greatest part of the Louvre, the greatest number of masterpieces, because they were so focused. So when we heard that and when we began the discussions, our thought was, well, curators, what do you consider in your collection to be really interesting in terms of this question of masterpiece? And we realized early on that there wasn't a single theme of masterpiece, that in fact curators were going to look at different aspects.
Yes.
Some of them got very excited about the idea, for example, of bringing fakes out of the closet, closets of the Louvre. Yeah. And Isabelle, yeah, go ahead.
And as well, some of the curators, maybe as you mentioned, say that some of the considered as the best, as Venus de Milo, is not really a masterpiece.
So we were sort of puzzled by that.
Yes.
But,
yes.
Well,
but she thinks that really there are some best Greek sculpture than the Venus de Milo.
Sure. So, and in fact, one of the objects in the show, the Dame d'Auxerre, is pretty amazing.
This one is really a masterpiece and has an amazing. Maybe we shall say the story when we have the image.
Okay. So the next stage in the process. So we had an idea. We liked the idea. I think the Louvre curators liked the idea. So then objects were sort of presented, put on the table, and we kind of treated them as case studies. So in each case, the Louvre curator had to explain why they thought this would be a good fit for the show. And then once we had gotten everything out, we examined everything, and we have some photographs here. So this is actually a photograph from year 1, where we're in the Cabinet de Dessin, the drawings cabinet of the Louvre, which is the place where you go to look at some of the 100,000 or so old master drawings in the collections of the Louvre. And so we looked at some of the drawings, and actually we had some very interesting discussions with the drawings curator, because at first the curator said that there are no masterpieces in our collection.
Yes, and you know, David is very, very pragmatic, I should say, and he told me, what do you think they will save in case of a fire? Because they have thousands and thousands of drawings, and do you think there are some special boxes that they will save in case of a fire?
So it's a very practical way to identify masterpieces, which is what would you save if the building was burning? What would you save first? And in fact, they do have red dots on all the boxes that have the treasures. Let's see, what else do we have here? Who's this, Isabelle?
That's maybe you recognize if you have seen the exhibition, the small muscle of the lion.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the storage where we have few different pieces by Barry, and we were choosing amongst those. You can recognize them too because they are in the exhibition. So one of the things that I like being a curator is to be able to touch the objects. And you can see that.
Now you're not allowed to touch the objects, but we can touch the objects.
Yes. So you see, I'm always very happy in the storage, taking the objects in my hands, looking on the underneath, and showing them to friends like David. And,
Okay, let's see what else we have. And actually, we were looking at these because Isabelle had already put one piece on the table, which is in the lobby now of the Ancock's Chambers Wing, which is the very impressive lion crushing the serpent. So we were looking for pieces that would really provide a kind of context for that masterpiece, so related pieces. And because it was almost like, I guess, Rodin's thinker at the end of the 19th century, you know, the big model was created, but then lots of little reproductions were made, and the same, really the same, but maybe 50, 80 years before Rodin.
Yes. Quite, yes, because Barry has died in 1875. So.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what else. So, more touching. In fact, I have to say the photograph on the right shows Sophie de Camp, who is the curator of Greek art.
Yes.
And you'll see this piece in the exhibition, and there's actually another piece next to it in the exhibition over here. Oh, there's Jody Cohen. I can just see her peeking out. She was our glue, as I call her. She was really what kept all of the details of the project together. And as I recall, in the Louvre Museum, there was a pedestal over here. And the other piece, the mate to this one, had been removed already. So the guard came over to us and said, he noticed that we wanted to take a picture, and he said, well, you can get up in the pedestal and pose as the... And I remember, I think Sophie just rolled her eyes. She let us do it, but she rolled her eyes. And then over here is, again, Isabelle. This is a piece that was actually in one of the galleries of the Louvre that's been kind of shut off and is now used as a storage area. And this was a piece that...
And the mount has been changed.
Yeah. And this is a piece here that is in the exhibition as well, and represents sort of change of taste.
Taste, yes.
Ancient change of taste. So tastes have changed for a really long time. This is our brilliant designer, Jim Waters, who, so I think you should get the picture that it wasn't just me over there, it was a whole team of us, including Jody and Jim and others. And Jim, it was important because he was designing the exhibition, so it was really important for him to see the works of art. And this is a work here that the Louvre allowed us to put in a freestanding case, so when you see the exhibition, you can actually see the back of it as well. And it's important because this is a painting by a 17th century Spanish painter, Murillo. We had a masterpiece by him in the Year One exhibition, but he painted it on an Aztec obsidian mirror. So the conquistadores took this mirror back to Spain. It was a masterpiece of the Aztec culture, and then it was recycled by this Spanish master to make this painting. And this is one of our colleagues from I believe, the education department at the Louvre, and yet another piece. This piece
will come later on.
Yeah.
I don't remember when exactly.
Jody, do you know when this is coming? See, Jody, third rotation. This would be maybe next summer. Yeah. And then in this case, it's a medieval carved head. And it will be joined by another piece, and so you'll be invited to sort of compare them. And
it's to explain the way in the old times, even in the antique times and in the medieval times, how the historian of arts tried to build the personality of an artist from a masterpiece. This head has been a little broken, but it's really a masterpiece. And there are two or three pieces of the same period and which have been found in the same region in Burgundy. And we have, the historian of arts have said those pieces made by the master of Musée. And that's the same for the Greek ceramic. You have the sort of reconstruction of a master after having seen an object which is very special, very different from the production of the time. And so that's the way to build a personality of an artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know, I mean, for example, we know pretty well who artists like Michelangelo were and Vermeer,
Yes.
but we know absolutely nothing about the artist who made this. So it's sort of like, doing crime scene investigation work, and you're trying to figure out, based on the evidence, who could have made something like this.
Yes.
Okay, so we've gone through the Louvre and we've checked out all the proposed works, and so now we have to make sense of all of this great stuff. And so we gathered together both in Atlanta and in Paris, and we undertook these pretty amazing events that were developed by our head of interpretation, Julia Forbes, called Charrette. And I had no idea what this term meant, and I don't think our French colleagues really did either.
We don't choose, no.
But evidently these were sort of periods, trial periods, for students, architecture students at the École des Beaux-Arts, where just prior to an examination they were going to undergo this intensive period of creativity and work, and then they would submit this work to the judges. And so really what the charrettes are, it's a fancy name for a brainstorming session. And so what we wanted to do in these sessions is to take all this material together and to try to make it make sense for our visitors. And so we wanted to, for example, think about how we would arrange them in the galleries, what types of information we would include in the labels. And so you can see it gets pretty messy. I mean, we have lots of charts here. And then this is one of my favorite things. We actually had somebody come in who helped us to try to visualize what we were talking about. And she produced these bubble charts, and I call this one the shish kebab.
Yes.
But you can see that there's a kind of progression of ideas.
That's very interesting in the way of grouping the objects, even in the space.
Mm-hmm. So, and then Isabelle, I guess here are a couple of colleagues. This is the curator of Egyptian art.
Maybe I was there.
Yeah, I think you were probably over here somewhere.
Yes.
Here's Julia Forbes. Here's Angela Yeager, our graphic artist. Here is, who is this? Oh, Miriam Pro from the Louvre.
Oh, yes.
And Miriam Springall, who was a facilitator.
Magali Simon.
Yeah, and then here's Jim Waters, our designer. And you can see we're just posting stuff up all over the place and rearranging it, trying to make sense of this project. This was year 2, actually. And then we actually tried one in Paris, too. Brainstorming in Paris. Believe me, it's a new concept. It's a new concept. And Isabelle, how do you think this went, the brainstorming in the Louvre?
I do not think it works as well as in Atlanta. Even if it was the same moderator, she was
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
The curator, the French people have not the habit of working like that in a team, and I should say as well, giving any ideas, even if they are not good. That's not the way we work. So I think, but that was very interesting. And I remember I had asked to Aline Silla, who was the second of the Louvre at the moment, to have the Charrette in Paris, because we wanted to see how it could fit at the Louvre.
So Isabelle, how would you characterize my expression over here?
How to express? First, you are not sleeping. And I think you were answering to this man, who is the specialist of painting. And unfortunately for our project, for our partnership, his main work at the painting department when he's not studying and scholar, not the scholar work, but the work for the department, is to say no to most of the exhibitions he's asked. So, it was a little difficult for him.
So clearly I don't take being said no to very well.
Yes.
But actually, it ended up being really, I think, a pretty good event overall.
Yes.
And we did come up with, I think, a basic framework for the exhibition. And as you can see, just as we did in Atlanta, we put up notes on the wall. We started to arrange objects. And then, so this just gives you a sense of how we started laying the exhibition out. And what I want to point out is that there are certain works of art that are here and certain works of art that aren't here. And so we did have changes even after this meeting. So one thing you'll notice here is that this is the Vermeer lace maker. The Vermeer that's here is the astronomer, and the reason for that is that we have, after the exhibition in Atlanta, we're sending the project to Minneapolis. And so, unfortunately, this Vermeer, as much as we would have loved to have had it here, could not then also travel later to Minneapolis, but the astronomer could. So in terms of our collaboration, both with the Louvre and with Minneapolis, we made that switch.
And the astronomer is larger.
It's a larger painting. It's actually, you know what? I was just looking at it the other day, and it's a pretty extraordinary painting. I mean, so we're glad to have it. Some other works of art, perhaps that didn't make it. This was another Georges de la Tour painting. We actually are going to get a much better and more important de la Tour, the card sharp, which will come after the Vermeer goes back to Paris in January. Let's see, what else we have?
This one?
This one right here?
Come?
Yeah, this was in the category of sort of almost fakes. This was a piece that was thought to be perhaps by an artist named Verrocchio, but then...
Yes, that's certainly a 19th century fake.
Fake. So we decided that we had enough fakes in the show. Let me see what else. This little guy here, little tiny golden goblin man, he was actually determined because of the materials not to be safe to travel. So we actually have another wonderful little sort of chess piece size golden man in the exhibition. What else? I think that's maybe about it.
That's all.
Yeah.
And in the way we're working, now you have the different ideas here.
Yeah.
And then we're trying to fit them with the objects.
Yeah. So let's see. So this is just a blow up of the shish kebab, the bubble chart. And again, you can see there's a sort of flow. So this is year 2. No, year 1 maybe. Year 1.
Year 1.
Yeah. So we're showing these ideas and how the visitor, is going to sort of progress through the exhibition. So let me show you the one. So we didn't come up with quite a bubble chart for year 3, but this is sort of what we distilled it all down to. And so you can see the Louvre collects, preserves, studies, and actually this is year 2.
Year 2,
Year 2. So we have discovery, new materials, ancient materials, the Tiber, Josephine, collecting, and then finally knowledge, scholarship. So again, it really helps us to be very clear so that we can be clear when we're going about writing all those labels and doing the interpretation. One of the challenges, I mean, this is very beautiful, and this is what you're going to see when you walk out towards the piazza today. One of the challenges of this exhibition, which is a challenge that I don't think either of us had ever faced before, is that the Louvre-Atlanta experience is a stacked experience. So we have one gallery here, we have one gallery here, and we have one gallery up here. And so it's unlike a traditional exhibition experience, which is all on the same level. So in this case, you have to go from here to here to here, and then you exit out through here. So that really affected our thinking in terms of the organization of the show. So we get the works of art, we bring them, we have the idea, and then we have these models. And we actually have a set of models here in Atlanta and a set in Paris at the Louvre. So when we have meetings there, we use the models there. And when we have the meetings here, we use our models. And then once we've gotten our models sort of in good shape, then the big guys come in, Michael and Henri, and they sort of check it out and see if, in fact, what we've done makes sense. And if it doesn't, they send us back to the drawing board.
Yes.
And we had some pretty tense moments in terms of year 3, didn't we, Isabelle?
What's doing in this painting doing there, or what's?
At one point, I really thought for this project for year 3 that we were going to have to completely redo everything, right, Jody? And at that point, we just took a deep breath, and I said, maybe I'll just go home and, get a good night's rest, and maybe tomorrow everyone will have forgotten about this. I don't know. And then we really start to again refine. This is actually a photograph through one of the models, so you can see we're really trying to visualize how these will look, pre-visualized, so that when the works of art get here, we're not spending a lot of time goofing around. We can actually get the cases set up, and this is very important for Jody and our installation crew. Get things set up and get the work done quickly, because in fact, we don't have a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to unpack these works of art, to make sure they're in good condition. So we have to move safely, but expeditiously. So we're really trying to. So this is just to give you a sense of how the installation worked out, and I'll just point out that the pedestals in here are pretty wonderful.
Yes.
This is steel. And actually here it's a steel plate that's on a wooden pedestal, and then these are actually made out of steel. And at first we tried to convince Isabelle that we wanted to make pedestals like this also for the big kitty. And Isabelle, you didn't feel too comfortable about that.
Yes, I was not comfortable. I thought it was not comfortable to look at something which seems very heavy and which is on a hollow. So that's why I preferred a solid pedestal. Mm-hmm. But I like that very much, the small one for the small lion and serpents. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and we love the way
yes.
that the metal plays off the metal, and
yes.
then you have the wood playing off the wood. So it's really beautiful. So here's the second floor, and here's the model. And you can see originally there's a big painting by Boucher here on the center wall, and originally we had the smaller painting, the one by Murillo, over here, and then we decided to move the Murillo over here and put it in a case so that visitors could see the back of the painting. Let's see. And then this is the way the gallery looks. Isabelle, I'm going to point out this piece. This was really one of the technical challenges of the exhibition. This is an extraordinary piece that we absolutely had to have in the exhibition, but the curators in the Islamic department made a very specific requirement, and that is that the case had to be oxygen-free. So it had to have a system for taking oxygen out and putting nitrogen back in. We had never done anything like this, and the Louvre had never done anything like this. So we put our heads together and we called the Germans, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because we figured the Germans must know how to do this. And in fact they did. It was a company called Glasbauhahn in Frankfurt. And they built this machine. It sounds kind of like a dehumidifier in the gallery. It's a very expensive dehumidifier. And you'll hear it humming, and what that is the compressor, and it's taking the air out and putting nitrogen back into the case. But we had quite an adventure just before we put the work in. We discovered that the case was vibrating quite a lot.
Quite a lot.
And the Louvre curator was not very happy about that, so our excellent crew of preparators came up with a solution. They cut a hole in the bottom of the case, and the compressor now sits on the gallery floor. So the vibration from the compressor no longer goes up through the case, it goes straight down into the floor. And it was last minute, it was
yes.
nail biting, but it was brilliant. So when
yes, and it works.
It works. Now, of course, when you go see this, you're going to be looking at the case and not at the object. Please look at the object, because it's a really extraordinary thing. So this was the top floor. This is how we had originally envisioned the evolution of taste and knowledge. We really wanted to kind of break up the space more, so you have walls here and here. I guess this was going to be a wall too, and then later we thought about a kind of a curtain here. And then over here we have the Daniel Capitol, and we thought, oh, we'll make this little kind of medieval church environment around it. We'll have 3 little objects here to kind of open the exhibition up, and we kind of threw a lot of that out the window. This big painting ultimately couldn't be lent because it was fragile. We decided to move the Vermeer back to this wall, decided to clear all of this out, and in the end we decided to just have a couple of pieces here and here, extraordinary pieces, but we decided to just let them breathe and not to interfere with them with wall murals or anything like that. And Isabelle, do you agree? I think it turned out pretty well.
Yes.
So this is when you walk in, we wanted a punch. And so we have this big, bold painting by Ingres with this amazing gold frame that really provides that punch. This is our crew moving the Lady of Auxerre. You can see we have a little lift here, and that takes it up to the level of the pedestal. And then very carefully, they move it over. And oh, should I go back?
I think that the curator...
Oh, this is the curator over here.
I think,
He's conducting. He's conducting. So he's
a little... we are always stressed when... and I think that's him with his spectacles.
Yeah, this is the curator's nose right here.
Yeah.
And you can see his hands. He's going, stop. Our crew, fortunately, is very calm.
Oh, they will smoothly and wonderfully, and they are wonderful, yes.
It takes a lot to get them flustered.
Yes,
so
they take their time, and it's quite good.
And then this is how the piece looks. So we have this pretty great wall, sort of a poster, which kind of walks you through the history of the piece. Originally, it would have been painted. Here's where it was found, on Crete, similar pieces. There's a great photograph over here which shows Henri Matisse in the Louvre admiring this piece. So it helps me understand that this wasn't just something that I think is a masterpiece. One of the greatest artists of the 20th century also thought this was a masterpiece.
Yes.
So one of the things that we do is once we get the works of art out, we condition them. We make sure that everything arrived in the same condition that it left Paris, and I think everything arrived safely.
Everything was all right. Yes, okay. Yes, that both parties sign. Okay, no change. And then a new signature when it will leave Atlanta, and a new signature when it will arrive at the Louvre.
So this was one that we were really particularly interested in making sure arrived safely. This is the astronomer. And then here is our crew hanging the painting on the wall. And there was you can't see the audience, there was a little audience gathered around. I was there, and we were all kind of just, confident, but also watchful that the painting got on the wall and everything was good. And then this is the painting hanging in the gallery, which I think you can go see this afternoon. So, yeah. All right, so we thought we would just show. There's a wonderful video that AXA, the art insurer and one of the sponsors for the exhibition, put together regarding the transport of the Bari, also the conservation of the Bari, from Paris to Atlanta. One of the most asked questions has been, how do you get those things from there to here? So this video will show you exactly how we did it. So Kevin, run it. lion with the serpent is a monumental sculpture. It's a big hunk of bronze. And when you walk next to it, you really feel a massive presence in front of you.
The piece you will be looking at is a very significant and historically important piece. Usually sculptures of this site were manufactured in individual pieces that they were then put together, but this piece was a single mold. It was quite a masterpiece.
It was commissioned by the king. It was commissioned in bronze. It was a challenge for Barry to show at the Salon exhibition such a big sculpture. With bronze, you can have all the details of the model. You feel the wax through the bronze. If you look at it very closely, you will feel the tools designing, drawing inside the wax, and it's wonderful. It's like looking at a work in progress, I should say. You see exactly how it has been made. Barry made very realistic images, so realistic that some say that if you go in the Tuileries Garden where there was this lion, you could be very afraid because it looks like a real one roaring at you.
It is meant to scare you a little bit. And that's enhanced by the lifelike quality of the figure of the lion. Barry really studied lions. He went to the Paris Zoo.
He was taking measures of everything, every muscle, every tendon, every bone, and then trying to make the best lion than possible.
And so he was really able to create what at the time must have been a startlingly lifelike lion.
To an object that is being shipped across the Atlantic, a lot of things can happen from the moment it leaves a secure place in one museum and it arrives in the other museum. The people that are responsible in making sure that it comes safely from Paris to Atlanta and will return safely are from curators to conservators to appraisers to art experts to the professionals that build the crates to the people that are responsible with transporting the piece. So it's a large group of people that show responsibility for this piece. It's a very, very heavy object. You can't just lift it up the pedestal where it's standing on, so you literally have to bring in riggers. And these people have to be very experienced in how to delicately treat a very fragile object with very heavy machinery. It is a real challenge.
Believe it or not, we sort of use ancient technologies. We use systems of pulleys and ropes. So once you get it up off its base, then you put it on a cart that can support the weight of it, and then it'll get rolled out of the Louvre.
I have to clean it a little. The loan to Atlanta was for us the occasion of having this piece restored.
You will have to have a conservator who is specialized in the field of the particular material that they are looking at.
This is a sculpture that began its life in the early 19th century as an outdoor sculpture. It's had a long life, and kind of like human beings, it suffered a little bit.
My intervention is typical of our period. It has an impact on the vision of the sculpture.
It is not taking your typical household cleaning device and polishing the object.
I clean the sculpture, I take away plaster, painting, many small things who are everywhere on the relief.
these restorations are always the moments when we can understand something about the masterpiece. Ah, qu'est-ce qu'il a fait là? Il l'a cassé. We can see them by underneath. We can see them so closely that we understand what are the different damage, how it has been made.
What is interesting is the feeling of the wax, because when you see the micro relief, you see it's something like an engraving, so like a drawing too. So it's very wild. I think after restoration, after cleaning, that this wild aspect will be stronger. I hope so.
The partnership with Atlanta, for me, was a good opportunity to show many masterpieces of the Louvre. Maybe some people will never come to Paris and will never have the opportunity to see all these pieces.
I really love the fact that we're going to have Barry's masterpiece in Atlanta. Because of its scale, because of what it is, I really think it is the piece by Barry.
This is a piece owned by the Louvre, but all the parties involved feel responsible for this piece because it's part of our cultural heritage, part of our cultural patrimony for all people.
Okay, pretty cool. So. Well, okay, so we talked a little bit longer than I thought we would. By the way, I want to go to the restorer's house in the country. That looks so beautiful.
It's a very small place. It was a very peasant house where the conservator lives because it's less expensive than in around Paris. And he is the best conservator in France for bronzes. He has restored all the bronze of Versailles, and he is the best one. And you see where he lives.
Yeah.
But there you can have a large studio to practice his art.
Mm-hmm. Isabelle, maybe we could take a couple of questions.
Yes.
So does anyone have a question? Yep.
I'm so impressed with your remarks, both of you, that this was 5 years, I assume, you said 5 years, but I'm sure that the genesis was even prior to that. And all the thought and everything that went into this process, have you ever figured out how many man hours that were involved? And
a lot.
and I want to know, you had to have a budget before you commenced this, and with inflation and
Sure.
with politics and with the insurance process that must be enormous. I mean, I'm sure that could go into many more lectures. But from both of you, what did you have, say, from the financial things, like you said, you couldn't have the Vermeer painting because it couldn't travel to Minneapolis. And there must have been other factors that entered into this thing. I mean, the insurance people wouldn't insure something,
Sure.
or it couldn't get conserved properly.
Well, let me just stop you because there are about 15 questions embedded in your one question. From the financial point of view, it was an expensive project for the museum, but I think we felt all along that for us and for the community, it would really be worth it. In terms of insurance, questions like insurance, we did have some wonderful sponsors. for the show. So for example, in terms of transport, Delta and UPS, one of the sponsors of the exhibition that really got very little credit is the U.S. government. It's a program called Federal Indemnity, and it's a program that insures exhibitions that are deemed to be in the national interest. And so from the insurance point of view, we had a nice collaboration between the government, which provided really the lion's share of the insurance, and then also AXA Insurance provided some supplemental insurance. So we were very fortunate in that regard. I think in terms of conservation, for instance, it was interesting because the certain pieces, the Tiber, which was here for year 2, was a long-term, I think, priority for the Greek and Roman department, but they have a lot of priorities at the Louvre, and so because of our project, that got bumped to the top of the list, and so that received priority funding within the Louvre. And in fact, I think there were some private donations that came in to make it happen.
That was the opportunity to have a long restoration for the Tiber, and, which was very interesting.
Yeah, and I'm sure Isabelle was thrilled too to have her lion, her big kitty, restored. But it was quite an undertaking, and I think again, the project we never really thought, we knew the finances were important, we knew it was expensive, but in the end, I think we both did the project because we knew it would, in a way, transform our institutions, that for us certainly is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I think also for the Louvre to try to introduce some change. Isabelle kind of hinted at the beginning of our conversation about the difficulty in changing. This project, I think, caused change simply in that certain people at the Louvre had to work together in ways that they never had to work together before.
Yes, exactly, yes. Because it's what we call a transversal. I don't know if you use this word.
Cutting across or, yeah.
Across all the departments, so we had to work together, even if it was not always easy. But we had to work together, and I think that's one of the thing we have learned with this partnership, yes.
Sure.
I don't mean to stir up a hornet's nest. Was there something that you really, really wanted, David? Was there something that you really didn't want him to take to Atlanta?
Well, I'll go first. I think that there were certain things that were off the table. The Mona Lisa was off the table. And nevertheless, we made a kind of a running joke out of it. I don't know if the Louvre thought it was very funny, but everyone's, hey, what about the Mona Lisa? So at one point they were moving the Venus de Milo around the museum. They were trying to break the traffic patterns and break sort of a log jam of people. So they moved the Venus de Milo into a place in the paintings galleries, I think. Totally unsuitable. It looked awful. So we said, well, why don't you bring it to Atlanta while you decide what to do with it? And Isabelle, one of the great things about Isabelle is that she's totally optimistic and enthusiastic. And usually when we asked her for a loan, like when we asked about the Napoleon or when we asked about the Barry line, she's like, oh, why not? But also she was great because she put up with our shenanigans.
Yes, of course, but it's not only the curators who don't want to lend some of the works of art. Sometimes they have been promised to another institution. Sometimes they're really too fragile. Yep. Some of them have traveled, and some of the paintings are on their old canvas, and they are very fragile. So there are a lot of reasons why not to lend a work of art.
Yeah. So we had, the challenge was really to find those works of art that were both special, that met our needs, and I think the curators felt comfortable. They didn't have to feel totally comfortable. I remember when we asked for the Castiglione, the Raphael, I think I saw some jaws drop. But in the end, you know, it was deemed to be safe to travel. It had not left France in the history of the time that it had been in the royal collections. So this was a tough loan for them to make, but in the end, they decided to do it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
This third year exhibition is very interesting in that you've moved beyond purely the art. You've moved into several interactive portions of the exhibit, which I think have really enhanced the exhibition. I also noticed today that in other parts of our museum, you've got many other of our longtime works with the logo,
Right.
Louvre masterpieces. And
Right.
I'm interested in how that bridging came about.
Okay, well, there's sort of two parts to your question, I suppose. One is the technology part, and that was really part of our effort with the Louvre. You know, the Louvre is trying to, think of itself as a museum, project itself into the future. What can it do to interest visitors of today and tomorrow in the collections? And how can it be a museum and not just a pilgrimage point where people go to see two or three things? And so the thought is technology can play a role in that. And there's a project, an experimental project that the Louvre has done with the Japanese called Museum Lab. So our interactives were sort of part of that, that effort. And then the permanent collection, our feeling was, well, we have a permanent collection. We have works of art that are here, that are part of our community. Shouldn't we make an effort to connect the works in the Louvre exhibition with the things that are here permanently? So.
Yes, that's the idea to share and to connect.
To share and connect. There you go. We'll take maybe one more question. Yes.
Good afternoon. Would you be so kind to explain the detailed packing and unpacking process of something as fragile as the porcelain bust of Marie Antoinette?
Well, I think that I didn't see exactly how that was packed, but one of the materials that we use to pack particularly fragile objects is actually paper. And you can crinkle it up and wrap it around things, and it's quite a good kind of cushiony material. It's also, moldable, and I'm not sure if that particular piece, did we use paper for that?
Yes.
No. Okay, well, come talk to Jody Cohen after she will explain to you in graphic detail how that particular piece was packed.
Yes.
Okay,
and
so ignore what I said.
inside of the crate there is a lot of foam. And they have different strengths foam. For very heavy objects, they have a very strong foam, and very light objects, they have a foam which is quite more lighter. So it's quite an art to pack. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, look, you've been very patient, and you've asked really terrific questions, and now I think we both just encourage you to enjoy the third and final year of our collaboration. So thank you.